In my mind, I would say, Tracy, there's never been a time in the history of creation that the sun did not rise with the intent of God showing how faithful he is to the human experience in dark places.
Hi, Generous Girl listener. Hey, you've tuned in at the right time for the right podcast. I'm telling you, this next guest is going to inspire you in 2024. It's all about fitness, but don't turn it off when you hear the word fitness and think it's just another, I should go to the gym. This is fitness with a full purpose behind it. And it's a way to involve our generosity with our time, our talents, our treasures. And by moving our physical bodies, we're accomplishing something greater by contributing resources that are raised toward an incredible cause of anti-trafficking that is, I know, number one on many of our minds right now in this world. So listen up, because you're going to get to meet my special guest, Tracy, who's a native here from San Diego. And maybe at the end, you're going to be inspired to want to be a part of the next Freedom Challenge that we're talking about. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Generous Girl podcast. So thrilled, as always, to have you here listening with us. And today I have a special guest. I always have special guests, but today, while you're out running or walking, listening to this podcast, I think you're going to feel like it's perfect that you're moving your body while you're listening, because that's what this is going to be all about. Moving our bodies for a reason, for a cause, for the kingdom. So meet Tracy Daugherty, the executive director of the Freedom Challenge. She has more than 30 years of experience in pastoral ministry and church planning with her husband, Dan. And right now in the season, while she works with the Freedom Challenge, she combines the two biggest passions that God has placed on her heart. One is to affirm the dignity of women, and also to expand the biblical worldview of the church. And she holds a bachelor's degree in theology, is an experienced Bible teacher and speaker based here in San Diego County, California. And she loves ministry, but obviously her passion is being a mom and watching her two adult children and spouses, and the one teenager ready to launch, and a new grandbaby growing and grounded in their confidence and calling. So she just has so much to offer. We have a friend that connected us, and we had coffee, and I can't wait for you to hear about Freedom Challenge, because Freedom Challenge is where she's been able to witness the power of women as environment changers and culture setters and forces of good in the world. It's basically like you're doing something, raising the funds to go with it to support an incredible ministry involving anti-trafficking. And their goal is, the Freedom Challenge's goal is to set 1 million women and children on the path to freedom by 2030. So welcome, Tracy.
Yes, I am so glad to be here with you, Kim. We have been looking forward to this. And thank you, dear friend who connected Kim and I.
Shout out.
Yeah. Yes, that was like a quick turnaround. I know we were destined to be friends when you were like instantly, let's do it. And we met up at coffee and just connected, and God just synced our hearts, right? Like like-minded women in the faith. And I'm so grateful to be here with you to have this conversation.
Well, right back at you. And I love that we're both here in San Diego, but we had heard like of each other because of mutual, connections, friends. But I had always heard through Autumn basically of this Freedom Challenge, but wasn't really sure, wait, it's a ministry. And, I knew things like when people would do marathons in Hawaii and raise money for cancer and things like that, but I hadn't heard of what you all were doing. So let's start there, because you'll do the best job of explaining what the Freedom Challenge is all about. And then we'll tell more about your story.
Yeah, little snapshot. So I would consider us a movement of freedom sisters, an increasing movement of women that are harnessing their purpose, intention, their whole person in this particular place atrocity, which is human trafficking, oppression of women and children. I see this as the terminology biblical justice, embodied justice. And so we say, let's do good.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be biblical justice.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing shalom restored to the places where it has been robbed or withheld or taken away. And that looks many ways, not just sexual exploitation, but it's, bond servitude, it's organ trafficking, all of these things. They're not pleasant to look at, but they really are the very place where God is focused, the vulnerable, the marginalized. So we say, do good, and then do more than you ever thought physically possible. And that's just using this vessel for the glory of God. I wrote down before we got on Romans 12:1, where it talks about giving living as a living sacrifice. And so what I love about Freedom Challenge is it gives us women an opportunity to turn towards something that we may not know how to solve or be a part of. Our hearts are moved, but it gives us something to do. And we'll talk more about that. So do more than you ever thought physically possible. We basically manufacture suffering, which we grow under in this place of embodied justice where women are a part of really difficult challenges. Talking Kilimanjaro, Mount Everest Base Camp, Grand Canyon, Machu Picchu. I mean, I could name a place. We have likely brought women in this embodied justice place, and then do it together.
Right.
So it's the sisterhood. There's this beautiful place where women do something together, where it's expedited. You're coming to the table with a backpack, no makeup on. You're not in your role. You're multi-generational, and you just have one thing in mind, and something cataclysmic happens in that recipe.
So you're signing up for an adventure, but when you're doing that adventure, wherever it is, Machu Picchu, you had one this past fall here in Southern California on Catalina Island, hiking for over 30 miles over a handful of
41
days. What I loved about the challenge when it was all set up was that you could pay an extra $100 and they would transport your gear. So I want to just say, for the listener who maybe is not looking at this on YouTube, but just hearing this, you do not have to be a triathlete to do this. The people that I know and invited to attend are ordinary people like me, like Tracy. And I know, Tracy, you'll describe yourself, and I want you to tell more about that as being a girly girl. So let's just at least get this all straight, that this is not something that you have to have been this, college athlete in the past. No, this is for women who basically want to do more than write a check. And you're surrounded by a prayer team. And your results of raising money, that there's a certain amount that they'll say, okay, the Catalina hike is this amount, and then this event is this amount. You raise the money through your network, your friends, the people that God brings in your path, and that money all goes toward anti-trafficking. None of it goes to your own expenses, totally separate. But it's just a way to be fully involved in the cause. And I know a number of people that love this because their kids are launched and now they're looking at their life going, wait, what am I doing? Like, I want something more and bigger, and I have time and I can do something. And even the people with the young kids are doing this. So talk more about how you did the girly girl side and then how you got involved, because I love that.
Yeah. So, yes to everything you said. I'm going to just tag on one quick thing. That what's so beautiful about the choice of a woman to participate in this is it's the opposite of what happens in the story of a woman or a child who's trafficked. Their choice is taken, their ability to think and feel on their own. And these are all God-given dignity that God grants us as humans. Someone has taken that away. And so the power of a woman choosing to do something so vulnerable as raising funds, telling the story of women and children, and then physically doing something that requires them to train, to be messy, to be uncomfortable, to do hard things with others, to be a sister, is the opposite, right? So it's really becomes almost like a spiritual warfare of sorts, where there's this counteracting of choice. And that's what's really beautiful about this opportunity. So many of us are like, well, how do I how do I even approach this?
Yes.
This is a way that we can contribute appropriately. So yes, my story, man, it's been 10 years now because Freedom Challenge is 10 years old, actually getting into our 11th. The founder of Freedom Challenge, great friend, was a part of our local church. She had this vision for women to overcome their fear, but to do hard things in the name of women who were already doing hard things, saying, you don't have a choice, I do. So I would walk with her and listen to her vision, and God materialized that supernaturally. The first challenge was Kilimanjaro. There were 40 women that went. And I remember I was not very active physically. Total girly girl, wanted to be at the spa, give me my heels, don't even own tennis shoes. And I kid you not, I did not.
Were you in your kind of late, like mid 40s, kids being launched?
Right. Yep. Exactly. Right in that kind of still in that age. So there was a day where I felt like I was being invited. It was the second trip to join. And I was so reluctant, Kim, because I'm like, I don't do that stuff. It is comical that I sit in the seat. God has a good
great sense of humor as usual.
Yeah, he does. He does. And so she's like, well, let's just, my husband said, why are you so reluctant to join? And my reason was this: I didn't want to get up early and I hate being cold. And so like, I had to really like go, whoa, that is a place of not wanting to feel physically uncomfortable. What's that about? Through a series of events, I said yes. My first hike, I did not have a pair of tennis shoes. I borrowed my daughter's cheer shoes. And I took one step towards something that I didn't know about, felt uncertain, but loved the purpose, and it changed my life. I think back at a time, maybe 5 years later, had no idea. I just took that one step and God just did this whole work in me. Was getting ready to stand up as the director of Freedom Challenge at an event, about 5,000 people, to talk about this. And a friend sent me this message, Facebook, 5 years ago today. And it was me in those cheer shoes, taking one step toward the unknown, toward the uncomfortable, not realizing what God was going to do 5 years later on that exact day.
Oh, that's so
Isn't
beautiful.
that cool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that's the story. Yeah.
So inspirational, Tracy. And so after I heard from Autumn about this program, I had it on my list of things to the Catalina opportunity, being here in something. I thought, oh, this would be amazing. Praying about it. Okay, this is great. I can recruit some friends to be a part of it. So the friends all signed up. And, you know, I went to REI and got the supplies. And then in the meantime, I mean, you all do such a great job of doing the Zoom calls. And Daria, she's got everybody gathered. The girl who coordinates everything logistically, who's amazing. So I'm just all signed up. I'm ready to go. And then, as you well know the story I'm telling the listener, my dad in the fall was suddenly diagnosed with leukemia and ended up passing away right, like, honestly, the day or two before the whole hike started in Catalina. So I obviously wasn't able to be there. These dear friends were able to go and become new best friends with each other. And I feel like, you know, my role was to connect them and let them go and be a part of it, and planting the seeds in my life for a future opportunity. So I'm obviously totally at peace and so grateful I could be there with my dad in that whole season, but very unexpected. Like if you had asked me what my fall would look like, it was not what I thought it would look like. But I got to follow along with the journey because I was still a part of the WhatsApp, conversation thread. And I loved at the very end, you know, after you've not only had the individuals raise the funds, but you are surrounded by this prayer team. And then literally right at the days, you know, prior to the end and right at the end, you're posting these people were freed in this area of the world, and happening simultaneously, and just all that went into the prayers surrounding that trek on Catalina. And the friends I talked with, they were like, it was hard. It was hot. It was dry. It was dusty. And, you know, battle involved for our minds and physically. And I just love the good that comes out of it, because it really does. Years ago with my friends, I want to say maybe it was like 14 or so years ago, we did a half marathon, and I would jog in college kind of thing, but never a quote runner per se. And I was amazed at my body's ability, and my friends as well, to go from 0 to nothing in 12 weeks and be able to run, half marathon. I think we finished in 2.5 hours. So happy at Huntington Beach, that we could do that. But it taught me that, wow, the body is so resilient. The body is able to do way more than we think it is capable of doing. And so obviously one of the pillars on this, it's almost like 3 with your podcast instead of 2, because fitness is 1, finances, and then obviously faith. Those are the ones we're talking about here. But I love, watching these people in their 90s doing ballet and ice skating. And I think a lot is the power of our mind. And prior to this recording, you and I were talking about what might you be able to share for the overcoming adversity part. So can you share that story about being on Mount Kilimanjaro? Because I do think the battle in the mind, and how we think of ourselves, and whether we're writing ourselves off because we're a certain age and, the best years are behind us, or giving up kind of on our physical fitness side of things. And obviously we have illnesses and things that are way beyond our control. And sometimes it's not possible to be, as physically active as we would want to be. But I just think that's very powerful, what you shared with me.
Yeah. Because we're triune beings, spirit, soul, body. And sometimes I think as women, we can disregard the physical part. I mean, the way that we're housed in the world as a spirit is in a human body. And it's really modeled through Jesus, right? Who came into a human body, and that is how he knew and was known. So our bodies, right, as temples, it's imperative that we're considering how we're stewarding our bodies. So I feel very passionate about that. And so to your point, 2022, we brought 31 women to Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. It was to celebrate 10 years of the Freedom Challenge, going back to the original event. Now, this is daunting. This is one of a lot of times we'll have a cookie on every shelf but this was one you're needing to show up ready in all facets, trained. Kilimanjaro is 19,420 foot elevation. It was 7 days. It took 124 porters and people to set up tent for us. We had a prayer team of hundreds of people charting our course every day. Women from their 20s all the way up to their 70s. Wow. And so a vast group, diverse group, all there with the same purpose. So I'll take you to the 6th day. Some women are having to drop back because of oxygen levels, because of all their responses. We had a great medical procedure. Of course, safety is number one. And so that was a releasing of women day by day, and then narrowing down to about 20 of us who were going to make the final ascent. And the final ascent is starting at 17, which is very hard, sleeping at 17,000 foot elevation.
You think of 14ers in Colorado. I mean, that's high, 14,000 feet.
It is. Wow. It is. And then waking up, going to bed about 5 p.m. and waking up at 9 p.m. and getting ready to make the all-night ascent. Wow. So that just in and of itself, it's cold, well below zero. It's pitch dark because we are way up there and we're getting ready to make this ascent. So there were 20 of us. We got up. I mean, I had warmers in every little inch of my body. And we each had our own individual porter who would walk and would make sure we're eating and drinking and caring for us as we ascend in the dark. So we all had our headlamps on. And the thing I could say, because I think stories that we experience are parables that God uses is to remind us about how to live in the world. So this would be one. We began walking at 10. Again, it's pitch dark. Just the visceral feeling of waking up in the middle of the night to walk with a headlamp on when it's freezing. Yes. is such a strange experience. And immediately my mind went to all of the people throughout history who have been woken up in the night, genocides, refugees, Jesus himself woken up to go to Egypt to depart in threat of their life. So even the very amount of people that we're walking for that are quite literally in darkness, the parable of doing that was such a visceral place of connecting. And so that went on. And then about 2 hours in, you just start like falling asleep in your mind. You want to stay close to each other because your steps comfort each other.
Because you don't have the oxygen.
Don't have the oxygen. There's no ability to laugh or talk.
Wow.
My beautiful porter would make me drink. I didn't want to drink. There were moments he had to make me drink. I wanted to spit it out. There were moments I had to let go of what was in my bowels in a very vulnerable way. And I've never been in that experience. So it really connects you to what happens in the places and the people that we're talking about. There were moments, and it was so sweet. The sound, the personal touch, our porters would say our names repetitively. Tracy, and it would wake you up.
Wow.
Because you're like, okay, I'm known. There was one moment that they started singing, I have decided to follow Jesus in Swahili. We were about 2 a.m., like 2 a.m., walking dead, it felt like. And like what to do with your mind, right? So what I would do with my mind is I would quite literally meditate on what I just said, the people walking in darkness, how to have hope in darkness. I would pass before my mind and hold everyone I love very quickly in my mind and say a breath prayer. And then I would look at this verse that was on the backpack of the person in front of me. And it said, it was in Lamentations, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They're new every morning. Great is his faithfulness. And in my mind, I would say, Tracy, there's never been a time in the history of creation that the sun did not rise with the intent of God showing how faithful he is to the human experience in dark places. And I just kept that going. What I knew was a little tip. I was told by a friend, when the sun rises, you know you're 45 minutes. And so my mind had to stay in staying close to my sister, meditating on the right things, hearing my name and going, okay, I'm here, and the scripture. And I'll never forget Benat, a Nepali man, says at the top of his lung, ladies, in 30 minutes, the sun will rise. And when it does, you will feel warmth and you are almost there.
So you made it. You summited
all the crests of the light coming out.
Wow.
And there's never a moment, Kim, that I don't go outside when I'm in places of challenge mentally. I like really, truly anchoring to that promise. Sometimes I'll get up to watch the sunrise to say, there's never a moment, Tracy, in the history of the world that God's faithfulness is not ushered in by the light of a new day. And it's been so comforting and beautiful to have that parable to anchor to. And yes, all of us made it. All of us made it. And we stayed for a whole 10 minutes and then went, all right,
time to go
down.
And then how long did it take you to get back down to the base camp?
Okay, so let's say this. The ascension is hard. The descending is more dangerous and hard.
Wow.
And that was another, after walking through the night, a 6-hour day.
That was to get down.
But God was with us. And, what does that do to a woman to be, when we say do more than you ever thought possible, to realize that your body is resilient can respond to these environments. Every woman there, including myself, I still go, how did I do that? And I think God wants us to carry it. How did I do that?
Beautiful. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Okay. I do want to make sure we highlight an upcoming opportunity later this fall that we have that's not going to be quite as challenging as Kilimanjaro, but will be challenging. But before we do that, because this is called the Generous Girl podcast, and we always like to talk about your time, your talents, your treasures, and how you are being generous. with your life. Speak to how you've seen, the women who've been involved, how it's made them live a more generous life. What aspects have you seen changes come about? How they maybe viewed themselves? They're more able to give in ways they ever, imagined.
Yeah.
I would love to hear that from where you sit in your role.
Yeah. So many women come to the table and their primary fear is the fundraising goal, even above what I just said. And it's because they feel vulnerable. There is a sense that their ask in telling the story for other women. There's a sense of like, it's not for me, a sense of challenge in that advocacy. I have never seen a woman in the history of me being here that did not make that financial goal, even though that was daunting to so many.
God provides, but it is so challenging when you're asking for money for something you're involved with versus, give to this cause.
Yes. Even though none of the funds actually go to you.
Right.
I've seen that. So seeing women overcome that challenge is amazing. But also just the deep investment. Women are paying for their trip. They are training their bodies. They are opening their mouth on behalf of those who have not discovered that they have a voice yet. They are getting on a flight. They are leaving behind their families and their obligations and organizing all of that. They're going to REI to try on gear that they don't know what. Some people like, what do I do? How do we put this on? They are learning to go to the bathroom outside. They are learning to live in community. I mean, like on and on and on and on, right? There is, again, it's a living sacrifice. There is so much. It's like a big love bomb going at the enemy's territory. That's all fueled with not just money, but what I told you before is, labor, influence, finances, expertise, all of those things all boiled up in a ball that just gets shot out. It's pretty cool.
It is really cool. I love that acronym of the LIFE that you just shared. That is very, very powerful. And again, the joy is hidden in the generosity. And the more you're around people that are living generous lives, the more addictive it is because you think, I want to live that way. And there's that FOMO of, wow, that's so cool. I want to experience that. And God's like, come with me. This is incredible. It won't be easy. I'm not promising it's easy. I'm not promising it's without hardship, but will it be worth it? Just like the gals who summited, 100%.
Yes.
So,
and it's the difference between a scarcity mindset and abundance mindset, where we look at scarcity and we say, I don't have enough energy. I don't have enough physicality. I don't know enough people in my network. And these things become massive obstacles to our small yes. And the greatest thing I could see in this whole story I'm telling you is my small, awkward, I don't have the right shoes. I don't know how to do that. I don't want to have to go to the bathroom outside, be cold and be in my yes. And getting over that first scarcity step created an abundance that is catalytic. Right?
Yes.
It starts hitting everyone around me. And that is the power of women. When we say those generous yeses, we do spur each other on to good works.
Love and good deeds. Yes. And that's why I wanted you on this podcast. So thank you for teeing this part up of the podcast. Because now you do have this upcoming opportunity and you are leading this whole group of women to hike the Camino. So this Camino, for those of you who aren't familiar with it goes way back to a spiritual pilgrimage, and you can do different variations of it in Portugal, Spain, and France. One of my sorority sisters, Meg Maloney, or Meg Johnson, and it was her maiden name, she went and recently in the last few years wrote a book on it called Slow Your Roll, and so proud of her. And that inspired me when I heard her story. She did it for the full month, but I know you're going to be offering 3 options. And I would love for you to tell the women listening what you're doing. And then what I'm hoping to do is to bring whichever women are interested, as a part of, being involved here with NCF, the National Christian Foundation of California, let's get a group and go for the 10 days for the last section of it. And the great part is we're going to get to finish with all of those who've gone before us for the full month. So we'd love to hear more about this opportunity.
Yes. So this next year, we have a wonderful group that is actually guiding us called Creatio. This is their sweet spot. So they're planning all the logistics. Our theme is the heart of pilgrimage, because if you look in the Psalms of Ascent, it's all about the biblical theology of pilgrimage, which is carrying your body for purpose and intention. So the El Camino de Santiago, this is Portugal to Spain. We start in Lisbon. This is 32 days, arriving in Lisbon by 9/7. The next group comes 17-day option, arriving in Porto, 9/22, and then the 10-day option will walk all together into St. James, Spain, and have a culmination of this entire pilgrimage. We have women that are, quite a few women signed up for the 32 days, which is amazing.
That's so cool.
We have people who will carry our main luggage from place to place. We will take a day pack every day. And really, the whole community has arranged itself around the welcoming of pilgrimages for this event. So we get to be a part of something that fathers and mothers in the faith will have someone with us who's going to teach us the historicity of it. And we'll just be tying it into the theology of pilgrimage, looking at the Psalms of Ascent, which is exciting as well. Like, where do we find in scripture that this is biblical, a pilgrimage? And believe it or not, it's found there in the Psalms of Ascent. So,
it is. I did a Bible study with Beth Moore all about the Psalms of Ascent and the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So absolutely. And then similar to what we were talking about before, like Catalina and Kilimanjaro, each woman who attends will pay her own way, but then she'll also raise funds for that will all go within your organization of Freedom Challenge toward anti-trafficking.
Yes, we have currently 40 different projects that are part of or aligned with Operation Mobilization, which is a 65-year-old, very established missional organization to the least reached. That's our goal. So if you think about women and children in these least reached places, we would define it as the least reached of the least reached. That is who we're targeting. All of these funds will be granted out to projects who have strategic plans within their culture for development. So that's economic empowerment, development of women, prevention. I mean, if we can reach before needing to be rescued, that is the best option, right?
That's a great phrase. Reach before needing to be rescued.
Right. And then rescue and restoration, which is all important work. We then take those funds, and in this particular case, the fundraising goal is $10,000. We offer a platform to do that, very resourcing. We want to win together. And to your point, all of those funds, 100% are toward mission. So we don't have to ever worry about those things kind of being cross pollinated. You know, they're very separate. So, so we, I'm looking at this little project booklet I have that is just, what happens. Another component, Kim, is we often once a year will take women to the places in which they have invested. And we support and come alongside the good work that's going there, and we bring advocacy to that. So that's another
like a vision trip,
Freedom Challenge. Well, not actually. No, we love vision trips, and there's definitely a part, but these are definitely a challenge trip. So we are fully integrated. We took a team to Greece, and we were a part of the 3-year program with the women, doing the 12-step program, working alongside of them, learning from them, us learning from. So we really. Most women are sleeping in huts with chickens pecking at their head. So it resembles the challenge that we so wonderfully offer women.
I see. That's
an
neat
opportunity to expand your worldview.
Yes. Okay. So tell everyone how they can find you. And if they're interested, they can obviously, reach out to me at NCFK Moeller at ncfgiving.com. But with your platforms and your own podcast, tell everyone those channels and where they can find you.
So Instagram is the FC USA. Our podcast on all the platforms is the Freedom Challenge Online. Our website is thefreedomchallenge.com. And I will say, not only do we typically have one either international or major challenge, we also have smaller events that are one-day events that have a similar taste. And this year, those will be in Arizona, Southern California, and actually our first urban hike in Manhattan, New York City.
Ooh.
So those are all opportunities for those that are saying, there's no way I could get away from. But we have one-day events so that there's a taste of what we do. So those will be on the website as well.
So if you're listening and you're wanting to take that next step in terms of fitness and faith and allow, God to just radically bless your fundraising capabilities, I'd say reach out to Tracy. She is amazing. She's inspired so many women to take the next step. And that's what this Generous Girl podcast is all about, is taking the next step. Your next step might look very different than the woman next to you's. Maybe that woman next to you is able to take 30 days, and maybe you have one day that you can give out of your crazy busy schedule. We just want you to take the step that God has laid before you in the season of life that you are in. And we're just thankful for your time to hear Tracy's story. And I know that even the friends that went on Catalina, they're not the same. Like, they are new women inspired to take the next step. One of them who did Catalina is doing the Camino. Another one's doing Scotland. So it's really, really so exciting, Tracy. And I love that you took the next step. And as a result, you're here able to inspire so many women. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Kim. Another component, and I'll add on, is how important prayer is. So everything we do is bathed in prayer. Prayer teams on site, at home. The Camino will actually have an on-site prayer team that will walk and pray. Catalina did as well. And we typically bring frontline workers on these trips with us so that women can hear their stories and actually tangibly experience some of that. So to your point, even if the big thing is not there, this prayer aspect is huge.
Yes.
It's foundational to what we do.
Yes, and certain women went on Catalina solely to be a part of the prayer team as well. Yeah. So I love the emphasis that you all have on prayer. Okay, before we go to your favorite Bible verse and book that you're reading and bargain, any highlight of like your favorite story that comes to mind related to all of these freedom challenges that you've been a part of?
Oh my goodness. I would say quickly, impact for women. 3 years ago, maybe right before COVID, we harnessed our funds to build a bookstore in downtown Athens. And we partnered with one of the ministries there. And it was to be a development center for women coming out of the rehab. And so when I went, I saw a horrid bookstore. It was like, how is their vision for this? COVID happened, came back, brought a team of women, and I met with the most beautiful bookstore that is now, even through COVID, bringing women from the rehab and creating profit. I actually bought a Spurgeon book for my husband there that was just a gem. And so having been with one of the women who was from Africa, had been trafficked, had been separated from her daughter and then reunited. So many stories came out of that, of our everyday courage to do something difficult. And then actually me being able to take women to see with our own eyes, there is that bookstore. There is that woman reunited with her child when she was separated because of legalities. The legalities brought them back together. She had been exploited, all the things. So that's like fresh off the griddle. So that's what I think about, right? Yes. There's a face to these dollars and to these names.
Yes. that's where our hearts get involved, and we can't stop giving.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. Thank you. So what is your favorite Bible verse? I know you alluded to Romans 12:1 before.
Yeah. Well, my favorite Bible verse, it was just my birthday, and my team took my favorite Bible verse and put it in all of these different versions, which I thought was so sweet. And I'll read it to you. It's Psalm 71, 17 and 18. I've known Jesus since I was 3. So it says, since my youth, God, you have taught me, and to this day I declare your marvelous deeds, because I am getting gray-headed, even though you won't tell. And it says, even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, my God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your mighty acts to those to come. And I think that this just reminds me of the presence of the Holy Spirit in this life, the truest of friend, that has been with me from my youth and has been with me through all of the things and continues to be in the call to bring the generations together in this current assignment. So that would be my verse. It's been my verse for many years.
I can see why. Book that you're currently reading. You said you're quite the reader.
I am a reader, audio and regular. My husband and I try to read a book every other month. And the one we've been reading is by Carmen Imes. She is a professor at Moeller University, and it is called, she has 2, Being God's Image, and that's the one we're just finishing, and loving Being God's Image. Fabulous on just the dignity of the humans and why God made us. And it's really reframing of some things that maybe we have learned and need to unlearn and know again.
Right. Being the image bearers. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Being the image, Carmen Imes.
Nice. Okay. And the bargain. We always go from deep spiritual and books and thoughtful to what's the latest bargain?
Yes. Okay. Because since COVID, I've been all about the athleisure wear and being comfortable. And I'm a San Diego girl. So Viore, of course, right?
Yes.
Like there are San Diegans. So we want to support them. But holy smokes, so expensive. So a dear friend of mine had a 40% off gift coupon that you could, get whatever you wanted. And did I go to town on those soft Viore, wonderful athleisure wear that I wear most days if I'm at home.
I can see why. Yes. I've heard it described as like butter, wearing butter.
Yeah,
and my friend's daughter, my daughter's friend in her 20s was in Scottsdale texting me asking about my daughter and what she would like, because she was at the Viore outlet in Arizona. So that might be next on our list when we're in Arizona to check that out.
Well, I'm just curious why we're not getting an outlet in the town here. That kind of I don't know about that. I know. I think who do we talk to? Let's talk to a manager.
It's probably too expensive for their retail space,
Yes, that's probably true. Yes.
Oh, well, Tracy, you're the best. And you've so inspired me. You've definitely inspired me to take the next step. And I hold it open-handed. I'm hoping I can do the Camino, but after what happened with Catalina and it didn't happen, again, Lord, if you want me to be there, I'll be there. So I would love for you to close us out, if you're okay, praying for all the women who are listening, for those who are listening to this and thinking, I would love to be a part of this. I'd like to take the next step. I'd like to be a part of the prayer team. I'd like to go on the Camino. I'd like to be a part of the trip to Athens or whatever it is. I'd love for you to pray in closing, please.
My privilege. So, Lord, thank you for Kim, a treasured new friend. And I thank you for partnership. And Lord, I pray for every woman who is hearing this. Maybe the woman that's like, that's not my thing. Pull on the purpose of biblical justice in her heart. This is an opportunity to not be overwhelmed, but to do something. There is something for us to do that's appropriate. I pray for all those that you are calling into this movement, into this sisterhood, that you would speak clearly to them. I thank you that you have called us to be stewards of these beautiful lives that you've given us, our labor, the things that we put our hands to, our influence, our finances and our experiences. So Lord, for everyone who is seeking to steward their life well, Freedom Challenge is an opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for the privilege and the honor of talking about how generous you are and how we can walk as image bearers in the world with biblical justice, embodied justice. And we just commit all this to you. I thank you for Kim. I bless her. I bless the listeners. Peace be with you, dear sisters, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. You know, I think you just said it in your prayer. What I love about what you do is sometimes we're so overwhelmed. Like you see the movie Sound of Freedom and you watch, the atrocities, and we get paralyzed. What I loved about that movie is they had a QR code and you could scan it and you could pay for it so someone else could see the film. But I love that you're not paralyzed and you help women do something about it. And it's enough to, each woman can look at it and figure out what that is. But if it is the cause of trafficking that she's passionate about helping to end, you have many options of how a woman can be involved. And our one little life can have just massive, massive ramifications that we will never know until we're in heaven and we see the results of what we did, the sacrifice, we made with our time, our money, our bodies. But that's what I love about what you do. So thank you. Thanks for living a mindset of abundance with a God who's more than abundant. And just, I look forward to 2024 for you and the organization, watching you grow, and just women who aren't involved yet, whose lives are going to be changed as a result of it. So thanks for modeling generosity. Just a real privilege.
Yes, and amen.
All right. Well, God bless you, my San Diego sister.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Generous Girl podcast. We're so glad that you're here. And if you know of someone that you think needs to be a guest on this podcast, please reach out to us. New episodes are released every other week, and you can follow us on YouTube and on all platforms. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.